This episode's brought to you by Affordable Drill Towers. Founded in 2016 by our good friend Steve Sanguidoce, a retired Houston, Texas firefighter, the Affordable Drill Tower was designed and built with functionality and versatility in mind for any training ground. As a standalone training tower or an add-on to an existing burn building or Connex setup, the Affordable Drill Tower packs a massive punch at an affordable price tag. With over 50 towers across the country, from Massachusetts to California, Montana to Texas, professionally engineered, NFPA and ISO compliant, the Affordable Drill Towers brings the versatility to your training ground. From Main Street USA, the small town fire company in their back parking lot, to the training grounds of the largest metropolitan fire academy, the Affordable Drill Tower fits the bill for price and functionality. Check them out at affordabledrilltowers.com. And two things I like to talk about also when talking about our friends over at Affordable Drill Towers. One, their customized training program. They have the ability to bring some of the best talent from across the country to your home turf after the install of the Affordable Drill Tower. Designing a customized training program for you and your department, Steve will facilitate some of the biggest and brightest names of the American Fire Service to come in and work with you and your department. And secondly, and I think most important, is Steve's belief in need over greed. The Affordable Drill Tower company gives back to not-for-profits that support organizations in the American Fire Service. Organizations such as the Joey D Foundation, which is near and dear to Steve Sanguidoce's heart, as well as many other not-for-profits that he takes a part of. He takes great pride in providing funding for organizations that push this job forward. So check them out, Steve and Dennis over at Affordable Drill Towers. Send them an email at info@affordabledrilltowers.com. Check them out on social media, and their YouTube page is kicking butt with great information, training nuggets, and information about their towers. So check them out, Affordable Drill Towers, and let them know Jeremy over at National Fire Radio sent you. This episode's brought to you by Ridgeway Leatherworks. Ridgeway Leatherworks is a firefighter-owned and operated business, as well as a family-run business, and that's what I love about it. Rob and his family are passionate about their customer service and the quality product and craftsmanship they put out for the emergency services. Rob's been on the show. We've been to his business. We've seen them in action. I've even tried to hand paint radio straps. I promise you, it is not as easy as what the final outcome looks like. The product is so good and so clean and crisp, and yet, man, it takes that steady hand. Rob's become a near and dear friend of our podcast, and you hear that over and over when we talk about our sponsors, that they're friends, supporters, and that's what this networking community is all about, is supporting one another. Ridgeway Leatherworks, Rob Meyer, crushing it. Quality and craftsmanship is number one. Customer service is right there with it. From custom radio straps, universal radio holsters, chin straps, flashlight holders, anti-sway straps, and locker tags made out of leather, there's plenty of opportunity along the way when you deal with Ridgeway Leatherworks. So check them out at ridgewayleatherworks.com. Find them on social media, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And tell Rob you heard about him on the National Fire Radio platform, and give him a little plug and tell him keep up the good work. We need to support our firefighter-owned businesses, and especially family-run businesses, where his two daughters and his wife help out day in and day out along with his other employees. So again, Ridgeway Leatherworks, check them out at ridgewayleatherworks.com and find them on all your social media channels.
National Fire Radio.
National Fire Radio presents.
I wish my head could forget what my eyes have seen.
10 years ago, the groundbreaking firefighting movie Burn took audiences closer than they'd ever been. Into the fires and into the lives of the men who fight them. 10 years in the making, the long-awaited follow-up is finally here.
The workload has increased and manpower has decreased.
Burn X explores stories and characters you've never seen before and continues the journey for many of the Detroit firefighters you met in the first film.
Fireclad 2019.
Order your 2-disc Ultimate Edition of Burn X on DVD and Blu-ray at burnstore.com, or get it for streaming and download on iTunes, Apple TV, Amazon, Google Play, and Vudu.
What is a man's worth that doesn't make the world a better place?
Taylor's Tins, one of the best there is. A good friend of ours and supporter of National Fire Radio. He comes up first in a lineup of sponsors because he means that much to me. Taylor's been with us from day one. I hit him up on day one and said, brother, I love your shield. I love what it represents. I'd like to give them out to all of our podcast guests. And from day one, almost 5 years ago, we've been issuing Taylor's Tins to all of our guests as a keepsake and recognition for their willingness to share some time and their story with us in our community at National Fire Radio. These aluminum helmet fronts, they changed the market. They're revolutionary in what they do. Even if you're a traditionalist with the leather shield, the aluminum shield offers so much when it comes to durability, cleanliness, decon. They can do it all with the aluminum shield. Their customer service, let's talk about that for a minute, where things usually take several weeks now to get your hands on them from conception to manufacturing process and out the door and onto your helmet. Taylor can turn around orders within 48 hours, whether it's a 500-piece shield order for your department or a one-off customized shield. Taylor's doing them, and he's doing them within 48 hours, and they're getting out the door. It's not just helmet shields. Nope, there's more. They got locker tags, carbon monoxide meter, data sheets. They have pump data sheets, pump tags, locker tags, street signs, banquet gifts, you name it. The list goes on and on. Check them out at taylorstins.com. That's where they conduct business. You can hit them up on the chat right there. They walk you through the process of designing your custom Taylor's Tin from the website. So go to taylorstins.com, check them out. They represent the very best of what the American Fire Service is all about, and I'm proud to have them as a sponsor of the National Fire Radio platform. And in the words of Taylor and his crew, stop burning up leather. Hey, everybody, Jeremy, National Fire Radio, back today on the podcast with a very special guest, a gentleman that I've met a few times now. And the saying is true, everything in Texas is bigger. District Chief Clyde Gordon, how are you, brother?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you.
I love the fact that our paths have crossed a couple times now, and we've had a lot of laughs and shared a few pops, and it's just been a lot of fun to meet guys that absolutely love the job, and you were certainly one of them. But where I was going with that intro was everything's bigger in Texas. It's not just the guy. I mean, you're a big guy by stature. And when I stand between you and, say, Mo Davis, both coming out of Houston, I feel like a little guy. I'm short. I'm looking up at you guys.
Yeah, Mo's a big fella, too.
Yeah, he is. But you know what? But you know what's equally in more impressive than that is how big your personalities are and how big your passion and love is for the fire service. And that's true, and it's authentic. And what I've learned from the both of you, and then getting to meet you, I've known Mo for a while now, but getting to know you and really starting to learn your story, it's just as deep and just as passionate. And your personality, too, is infectious. And I love just hanging around and listening to you talk and listen and share some stories. It's a lot of fun. So thank you for...
Well, thank you.
Yeah, man. Thanks for sharing your passion with us because, frankly, we need more of you. The job needs more of you. And I'm glad that you're out teaching and starting to attend more conferences and starting to get your word out there. Has that always been something you wanted to do?
Yeah, I started as a kid. I was 16 years old, went to Pizza Hut with a best friend, and he got a 50% discount on pizza because he was a volunteer fireman. And sadly for myself and being a 16-year-old kid from a little small town in Texas, I mean, that was it for me. I didn't even know what firemen did at the time, but that 50% discount on pizza had me hooked.
Hell yeah.
But I still enjoy pizza, by the way. But
of course. And still getting the discount?
No, I don't even ask for it anymore.
I know, I'm teasing. But that's funny, man. I mean, talk about an intro to the fire service, right? We all come from different corners.
Yeah, it was a God thing with me. He figured out a way to get me in a fire station, and it didn't take me very long to realize that that's what I was put together to do. And ever since I started, I just always had this interest in sharing what I knew, and I was always just so passionate about it. I just absolutely love the fire service. I love the people in it. I love going to fires.
What was the hook for you?
I think part of it was just the camaraderie and the fellowship and the family atmosphere of it.
Yeah. And
then this, to be honest, the excitement. I've been doing this, if you count those years, almost 40 years. And if there was a fire right now in my neighborhood, I'd hang up the phone on you and go. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Yeah, I just
Absolutely.
love going to fires, and I'd like to say it's because I want to save lives and all that, and that's obviously a huge part of it. But it's the coolest thing you'll ever do. You know what I mean? I just absolutely uh, live and breathe it and love it. Love every minute of it.
You know what I love to talk about, because a lot of guys don't. You know, when you think about guys coming into the fire service, they often talk about like, oh, I want to do it for my community. I want to do this. I want to do that. Right. And it's always about somebody else or something else. I love the personal satisfaction in it. I'm a guy that likes to push myself. I feel that you're the same way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that. Well, what it is we work so hard so we can provide 110% to people.
Yeah.
But the working hard portion of it is a good time, and I'm the same way. If I can go this far, well, I'm going to try to push and try to go a little further and see where my limits are, because now that I'm older, I think about, well, maybe it'll take that. Maybe it'll take this, where can I push myself? Where can I push my men to make that rescue? Before, it was just kind of see how big of a badass I was, to be honest with you.
Yes.
But now I'm a little older. You get a little smarter as time goes by. And I realize that if I'm surrounded by badasses, then we can do a lot of work and make a huge difference in people's lives. And that's really what it's about. But I do enjoy it. And I enjoy the adrenaline, and I enjoy the push. And I love screaming down the road. You know what I mean? It's awesome.
I couldn't agree with you more. You said 40 years in the fire service. I know you got about 33 years in Houston alone, right?
Yes, sir.
And so, that's a few years back. I mean, things were a little bit different. The script was a little bit different back then. And when you were riding the back step, I mean, talk about those early days and how influential they were for you. I know you said that you enjoyed the camaraderie, you love going to fires, but like your mentors, people that influenced you, the guys that you rode that back step with to watch them go up through their career, what does that all mean to you? Like, what was that foundation for you? What did it look like?
Well, back then, I was lucky enough to ride tailboard, and, as a new guy, you just didn't say a lot. You just kept your mouth shut and listened. But the guys that, I worked around, they were smoke eaters. They were tough as nails. And, I tell a story in my class that, my first officer told me, said, Clyde, all I want to see is wheelbarrow tracks in a front yard when we get there. And I grew up with horses and stuff, and wheelbarrows sucked, you know what I mean? And I didn't understand what he meant, but then he finished his statement and said, Clyde, that's where firemen carry their nuts, is in a wheelbarrow. So, I don't know if that's appropriate for our discussion, but the point of these guys it was a lot of ego and bravado, and they were tough, and they didn't back down from anything. And, the city of Houston was known as aggressive interior firefighters, period. We didn't go defensive. We didn't pull multiples. We didn't do anything. You just put it out. And to do that, man, you had to be tough. But and I've learned, and some of that was very positive. I learned what I could do. I learned how much I could actually do. I think a lot of guys today, they're not taught how, as much as they can do. They're told, don't, be careful, watch out, so much that they don't even understand how much they can do and how far they can go. And those guys set a foundation. Some of it wasn't always good. It kind of got to a whole nother level to where it was a little extreme. And it took me getting hurt and seeing a lot of different things. The fire grounds changed so much too. Back then, we're looking at shiplap. It's burning like crazy, but it's a big bonfire typically. You know what I mean?
Normal
and
combustibles.
now the fires are just a lot different, move a lot faster. So you got to be a little smarter than we were. I had 3 qualifications: big, dumb, and strong. That's what they were looking for. So, but those guys, they taught me what it's like to be a true firefighter. That it's okay to push it. You need to be aggressive. You need to try to get in there and knock it out and save people's property. You got to get in there and save their lives. And it really was an awesome time to be in the fire service. I got kind of on the end of our war years, so I got a lot of experience and made a lot of fires, and it was just a blessing to me.
I think what was fun about that, and the reason why I wanted to ask that, is that it kind of had a feeling that's where it was going to go in the conversation, because you talked about being pushed. And it takes a foundation of learning your own skills and abilities for you now as a boss years later to push your people, right? Because you were pushed, and you were pushed to understand what the limits were, where you could take that little, you could cross that line and come back across the line, and so on. And so as a manager, as a boss now, as a district chief, where it's basically your sandbox, you're now making those decisions, instilling your values and your culture on your company bosses, and then that trickles down to the backstep fireman. You because of your foundation now has allowed your people to work under you in a way that you were pushed, right? How important is pushing your firefighters and pushing managers? Like, I believe so heavily in that people that you see value in, I push them harder than I would push somebody else, right?
Yeah.
What does that mean to you? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, first off, like for me, I have to set expectation. And guys that come to work with me, we sit down. I don't care if you're a firefighter or a senior captain. We're going to sit down and discuss what my expectations are of you. And as a leader or as a firefighter, I expect you to push yourself to that extreme, to that limit, not to the point of being reckless and dangerous and stupid,
right?
But there is a time to push, and understand that I'm going to push you. If I feel like the risk is needed, they're telling me that their grandmother's in there. Well, we're going to push it, and we're going to push it as hard as we can. But it also takes a lot more involvement on my part. The officers and stuff back in my day, they just assigned you to the old head there, and he taught me how to do everything. Well, at least in Houston, we don't really have that culture as much anymore. And these younger guys are making officer, and they don't have the experience, and they didn't have that luxury of growing up with a guy who had been a firefighter on the back step of a busy pumper for 25 years.
Right.
And so I have to become more involved in the training and showing them what I expect from them. So we spend a lot of time just training, pushing each other, trying to understand the fire ground and what's going to happen, so they will get a better picture of it. But I've been told several times by my officers that they love working for a chief that'll let them go.
Yes.
And you got to let them go. If you've set expectation, if you've trained, if you've shown them what is the limit, like where am I thinking the limit is, you know what I mean? Then just let them go. They're smart. You've put the time in. Allow them to think, allow them to make decisions. And if they make a poor one, then we talk about it. We figure out, hey, look, this was a little much for me. I got nervous about you, those type of things. And so next time we reel it in a little bit. But you'll be amazed what your people can do if you'll just spend time with them and then let them go, let them do their thing. And I'm just lucky. I'm surrounded by outstanding officers, outstanding firefighters that want to be there.
Yeah, there's a lot there, right? So a couple things, right, that I heard you say, like, for managers to allow their people to work, right? That's what they want, right? Company
Sure.
Bosses and their backstep firefighters want to work, and they don't want to be held back or micromanaged. And I think a gentleman like yourself, with the pedigree that you have and the abilities that you learned early on from the days of being pushed and learning your limits, you trust your people, you trust yourself. And I think that's a big thing that's lacking today, is that our managers aren't confident in their own skills, so they can't be confident in their people's skills. And so for a chief like you, who's still remaining very hands-on with his companies and setting those expectations, there is that level of mutual respect and trust, and so you can let your people work. But yes. I know there's a big part of this job these days where that's not the case.
Right. Yeah. And I see a trend towards putting restraints on everybody, and a lot of it has to do with inexperience, and it's exactly what you just said. If me as a chief, if I've only made 3 house fires in a year, I'm not going to have that experience level and be as comfortable. So then my concerns are going to flow onto my companies, and I'm going to be a little less risky with them.
It's a good way to put it. Very good way to put it.
You gotta push and train, and it goes back to our training and our culture. And what's the culture of your fire department? Do you have an aggressive culture, or you have a safety conscious culture?
Right.
And I don't want people to get me wrong, like I'm some sort of wild Indian out here, but man, what we do is inherently dangerous, and we've got to push it. but you also had to be very, very smart. And there's no reason to not be smart nowadays. If you don't understand this job, it's your own fault, because there's every opportunity and avenue for you to get better. There's conferences everywhere. There's stuff online. There's podcasts like yourself. I mean, there's no reason for you not to be better. You just have to get out of your own little world there and seek it.
That's awesome, and that's fantastic advice, and you're 100% accurate in that statement. You have more tools now than ever to be better at this game.
Yeah. We had Firehouse Magazine and Fire Engineering, and it came to the fire station. We sat on the toilet and read it. That was it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And we had old heads that taught us, and you know, I was the same way. I knew everything the Houston Fire Department did, but I didn't know what Dallas did, and they're just right down the road, you know. And we can learn a lot from each other, and we have the tendency to stay in our own little silo, which to me is a huge weakness in the fire service. I mean, you're almost inbred, you know what I mean?
Yes.
I've been lucky enough to travel and do different things and meet different people and see, you know, different tactics. And there's things we do District 8 Bravo because they're supposedly suburban tactics or rural tactics, but man, they work great downtown. And so we do them, you know, and I have that luxury of being able to implement some things that aren't necessarily in the Houston Fire Department wheelhouse, but man, they just work. Why wouldn't we do that? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So. And I love what you said before too, about being dialed in on your managers below you, your bosses below your company officers and the firefighters, and still being engaged in the training and the culture of that, because that then holds you accountable. Right. And so how important is that for you then to further your education in the state current? Because I think a lot of bosses, they fall out of the need to keep training and continuing to better themselves. We need to do a better job in letting the chiefs know the gold shields and and the white hats, that they need to continue their education too. One of my favorite things is when I go to conference with guys like you, and you go up and you do your 2-hour presentation. When you sit back down and somebody else goes up, you're the first guy in the front row with a notebook in your lap taking notes on the guy that's now speaking. I think that's incredible.
Well, you know, so many people look at it like, you know, okay, I made battalion chief or whatever. Well, I've made it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm done. And I'm telling you right now, you just started. You, all of that stuff previous to that point has prepared you for where you are now. And you've got to understand that you're sending people potentially to their death. You know, every time you send them in, they could very likely die. We're not planning on that, but it is always a possibility. And I'm not going to do that just as a whim. You know what I mean? I take that very, very seriously. That's why, you know, I spend a lot of time trying to understand what we're doing. I read books. I listen to podcasts. I just think it's imperative. And especially if you want good crews and you want respect from good crews. I think a lot of my guys respect me because they know I've kind of been there, done that. And I'm not perfect, but I'm trying to do as best job as I can, and I'm allowing them to do things. And we learn together because we do the badges go on the table every time we put hose on the ground, and we talk. And they're like, Chief, well, how did we do this? And I'll be like, well, I thought it was a good idea, but obviously it wasn't. You know what I mean? They have the luxury to be able to talk to me, and I just think it's imperative. I think you're totally missing the boat if you get up there and you go to your office and do paperwork and you just sit there all day long. You know, I'm always involved with what they do, probably to a point of being a pain in the ass, but now they're used to me and they're like, whatever, he's just one of us. You know what I mean? They just move on.
Twofold. One, that's following up on your level of expectation from them, because you're doing it yourself. You're in the trenches with them regardless. What you just said, badges on the table, right? So it sets the level of expectation. But it also reinforces to the guys that didn't know you from 33 years ago, when you were a badass backstep fireman pushing yourself to the limit on every ordinary combustible fire you could possibly get your ass into, right? Those guys weren't there when you were going to those fires, so they only know some stories. But what they see is the culmination of a career that now you're riding in the buggy, and your abilities to teach and show and lead from the front because of your past shows them that you're credible.
Right. I have a guy that works for me, and he and I have become best friends, and I didn't know him. And, you know, when he came to my station, and one day he sat down, he said, Chief, you know why I came to work for you? And I was like, no, I have no idea. And he said, y'all made a fire, and he was working in my district, but driving the ambulance. And the next day we went over there just to do some training. It was burned out. We could get into it and tear some more stuff up. And he said, I like real shiny shoes and nice starched white shirts. You know, I like to look halfway decent. So I started talking to him, though, because I'd spent 15 years on an engine. So I was just talking about engine work and got down on my hands and knees talking about neutral planes and this and that and other. And he goes, man, it made such an impression. He said, first off, I've never seen a chief come to training ever. And then for you to get down in that burned out house in your nice shirt and shiny shoes and just talk to us, he said, it made such an impact on me. I had to come work for you. And I was just being Clyde. You know what I mean? I was just doing what I do, but I see it in my fire department. You know, I take the chief's gear off of the buggy and it's still in a gear bag. And you know what I mean? They have no intentions of becoming involved at any level other than sitting in the car, talking on the radio. And I think they're missing the boat. I mean, I run fires from the front yard if at all possible. I want those guys walking past me. I'm their chief. I'm their leader. If they're going to die in there, they walk past me and saw the confidence that I had in them when they went in. Something bad just happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
And I think I get a better feel of the fire ground from there.
Yeah. So the Houston Fire Department has their standard, but then there's Clyde Gordon's standard, District Chief, right? And
Yes,
so
sir. Yes, sir.
when you craft your own standard, if you will, and that's through setting the level of expectation and everything else, you then hold your people to that standard. How important is it to set a standard and then make sure that you don't go below it?
Yeah, I mean, it's imperative, you know, and I don't just say it, I do it. I mean, the other night we had some issues, you know, it's 11 o'clock at night. I was going to let it go until the next day. Then something else came up and I said, you know what, we're going to deal with it right now. So at 11 something at night, here we are in my office taking care of problems because we're just not going to allow this to occur. Plus we have another half a shift left, you know, that this could become a bigger issue. So it's just imperative. You know, as a young officer, you don't always know what to do. And the Houston Fire Department is not very good at training you to be a good officer. And, you know, I had an instance where I had a firefighter who had spent 99% of his career as paramedic. He just skill level and everything, he was just poor. And I was real uncomfortable dealing with his weaknesses. I didn't want to be the bad guy. I knew his dad. I didn't want him upset with me. And I had never been in that situation because the guys I worked with were outstanding. I never had to deal with those type of problems.
Right.
But, you know, so long story short, you know, he had the opportunity to leave me. I was at a real busy house. He went to a real slow house, and a few months later he was dead. And he died in a house fire. And the top 5 things that killed him, I could have fixed. I could have fixed any of them. Yeah. Just with a little time. And he probably would be alive today. And, you know, it taught me then, it's like, look, I have expectations of people, and you have to have difficult conversations with folks. It's uncomfortable. It's nothing personal. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm not walking around here arrogant and egotistical, but what you're doing right now isn't working. And I have to bring you up to a level because it's a chain reaction. I mean, we got to figure out what's wrong and we got to fix it because you're going to cause problems for me and the guy down the road and the people that we're responding to.
This episode's brought to you by Taylor's Tins. Taylor and his crew at Taylor's Tins have been manufacturing aluminum helmet fronts since 2017 with over 200,000 tins in the market. They are a leader in the helmet front space. Custom designed, one-offs to department orders, they can turn them around within 24 to 48 hours. Customer service is what they pride themselves on, and they provide nothing but top-shelf product and service to their customers. Check them out at taylorstins.com and check out their full line of product offering. They've always been a very strong supporter since day one with the National Fire Radio podcast and platform, and Taylor and his crew have become dear friends of ours, and we appreciate the support. And at checkout, for a little extra bonus, use coupon code NFRSENTME. That's NFRSENTME for a discount on your order. Exclusions do apply. Anyway, check out taylorstins.com. for the latest and greatest offerings from Taylor and his crew. And in the words of Taylor, stop burning up leather. This episode's brought to you by the Affordable Standpipe Prop. Let's break it down real quick. Steve and the crew at Affordable Drill Towers is doing it again. They've created this fully custom and fabricated standpipe prop to support the fire service. I'm telling you right now, this is a game-changing piece of training equipment. And I want to hop into it real quick. It is designed with a 4-inch manifold of high-strength galvanized Schedule 10 pipe. The cart and manifold are powder-coated red for a durable finish, meaning it's not just a talking piece. It's not something you tuck away on the shelf. This is a training prop that can be wheeled into the classroom and then brought out onto the training ground. And so let's talk about that. In the classroom, there's nothing better than having a hands-on prop in front of the students, in front of the fire companies that are there to learn about standpipe and FDC connections. Having that prop in the classroom allows for a great instructional lecture. And then from there, take the standpipe theory and translate it to the training grounds. You could wheel the cart out that's on casters, you wheel it out into the parking lot, and that same training prop that you just used hands-on in the classroom can now be used hands-on on the training ground by pumping into it and flowing out of it. It offers such versatility in its approach. It has a 2.5-inch Siamese connection, 7 2.5-inch outlets, 6 of which are standpipe valves, has a water motor gong, sprinkler head with a control valve, and a system pressure gauge. You can also upgrade and put 3 of the most common field-adjustable PRVs. I'm telling you right now, this is a game-changing training prop that needs to be in every fire company or training department across the country. Reach out to Steve and the crew, info@affordabledrilltowers.com. Ask for a demo, ask for information, or check them out on social media and YouTube. There's plenty of content out there that shows you exactly what the affordable standpipe prop can do for you. Yeah, and it's a super powerful story, and I know you talk about that in your one class that I had the fortunate ability to sit in on, and you really talk about that story and how that shaped a lot of your outlook in your future, you know, in your next years of the job and how to manage with people and handling those difficult conversations. And there was a statement you made, and it said, "Don't lower yourself to someone else's standard. Bring people up." That is so powerful, profound, and important, and you do have to live that experience that you just shared with us. I mean, that is really a career-changing moment, I would think, that you had to come to a crossroads and say, I'm either going to bury my head in the sand, and this could happen again, or I need to change my ways, and I need to be a boss that allows for his people to succeed.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it did. It affected me profoundly.
Yeah,
because I felt a lot of responsibility for it.
Sure.
I mean, that he was a grown man also. You can't put it all on me, but I let him down. There were things I should have done that I knew I should have done, but it was going to be uncomfortable to do. And man, we just have a bigger responsibility than that. And you have to just get out of your comfort zone and talk to people and explain to them. And we all know a guy like that. That's the thing. There's not a fire station in this country that doesn't have a guy who has just given up. He doesn't give a crap. He, you know, whatever it is, whatever reason, but he's a detriment to your crew and he's going to cause you issues and you have to deal with those issues and it's going to piss somebody off, but it's okay. They'll get happy again too, you know, or they'll do whatever they got to do. But, you know, it's just a bigger responsibility that we have, and you owe it to people to do that, because what I don't want to do, I judge everything like that on, if something bad happens, can I lay my head down at night and sleep? Because I carry those things with me. I don't want to carry this for the rest of my life. So did I actually do everything I could have done and bad things just happened? Or did I ignore it, push it down the road, kick the can down the road, and now look what's happened?
Yeah, and that's that self-reflection and accountability that we need more than ever today. We need people to hold themselves to a higher standard, and therefore, when they do that to themselves, they can then ask others to perform at the same level. And go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, well, you know, you don't get any respect by telling people what to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can talk a good talk, but if firemen are smart, if they smell BS, man, you're done. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
So,
100%.
You know, you got to show them that, you know, I'm part of this. You know, we burned the other day. We're doing stairwell operations and crappy stairwells. Yeah, I was there to evaluate how they were doing, but I didn't evaluate from the street. I evaluated from the stairwell. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And I stayed out of their way. I'm sure they didn't like me in there because every mistake they made, they knew I saw it. But I also didn't use that against them. I was like, well, okay, this is where it looked like it was weak. This is where it was strong. Let's work on this. You know what I mean? I'm not there to beat you down
That's right.
like an abusive parent. I'm there to let's see where we are and let's work on it. Now, if we worked on it and we trained you and we continue to have issues, then we'll deal with those issues. But most guys want to do a good job. They just need direction and some help to get there a lot of times.
Yeah, and I think too, a lot of times guys aren't going to ask for the help. And so
No.
as a dialed in leader, as a dialed in district chief or company officer, watching the deficiencies of those around you and helping them better their position is usually a voluntary thing, meaning you have to offer and show them how to better themselves because they're not going to come ask.
Right. No fireman's going to say, hey, I don't know how to do this. Will
That's
you
right.
show me? It ain't happening. So you go out there and out of respect, you go through things and I never try to demean or embarrass anybody, but we're going to ask you, if you're driving the pumper and you spot it in a terrible place, I'm going to ask you, why'd you spot it here? And most of the times they're just going to be like, I don't know, this is where it stopped. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, then we talk about, well, look, if you'd have rolled up a few feet, if you'd have stopped here, if you'd have done this, look how much better it would have been. And then they start to get it. And then if you do that every single time, first they're going to think you're just nitpicky and finding stuff to gripe about. But then they realize, no, he's just trying to make me better,
Right.
And then they start thinking about the placement. Instead of just parking, they're starting to position apparatus and all of these things, but it's a culture that you have to create. You're not going to go in there and it's not going to happen overnight.
And it's
you have to create this culture.
Yeah, and it's finding the way to deliver that message without being condescending or authoritative or, it's a lot of the people skills involved are super important. And one is just being able to talk to people. Understanding how to pick people up in a conversation, even when they're deficient, there's a way you can package that conversation and say, listen, tell me why you did this, but let me show you this, and do it in a way of reinforcement so that, yes, they were deficient, but let me show you how to do it correctly and make them understand that you're not coming at them or attacking them, but it's more so to correct the situation and that they're part of the equation of it. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And, a lot of guys that reach like the battalion chief level and stuff, man, you got to get out of your own way. You're not near as special as you think you are. You know what I mean?
I love that. Go with that, man. Go.
Yeah. Just shut up, get your ego out of the way and realize that you're in that position to help everybody else succeed. Because if everybody else, I don't show up to fires and put them out. You know what I mean? When we walk away and we look like champions, it had nothing to do with me. It had everything to do with my crews, and they killed it. That's why this went so well. And it was a effort between all of us. All I did was orchestrate it. I just stand up there with my baton and try to get them pointed in the right way. But man, leave your ego at home. It has nothing to do with you, and you need to talk to people. And kindness goes a long way. You know what I mean? But I also will tell you, don't mistake my kindness as a weakness.
100%.
I would prefer to be kind to you, but don't think you're going to walk on me. And that's also guys understand your culture and your command presence. People ask me, well, how do you run a fire from the front yard? Don't people come and yank and pull on you and this and that? No, they don't, because we could have been drinking coffee and BSing and laughing about deer hunting 5 minutes ago. But now when I'm in that front yard, they're not getting near me. I have this circle around me. They know they can go talk to my ICT, but they know that I have 100% focus on what's going on, and don't just come up there and start jammering and yammering at me. It's called command presence. You have to develop that, and you have to, again, set expectations. You talk with your crew. Hey, you see me standing out there working a fire, unless you say, oh my God, I think I'm dying. Don't come talk to me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I have a job and so do you. So.
No, that's a very good way to put it, and that all comes with those expectations. This is my fireground presence. This is my command presence, and you guys know that because we train, we talk. You understand how this works. I mean, that's just it's huge. So talk to me about trust. I know trust is important. There's a lot of words that I can put in your basket, right? Integrity, accountability, work ethic, orientation, management, all these things that are just big, powerful words that you can break down. I've heard you talk about all of them. I know trust is very important to you. Trust in our own people, which we've been talking about, right? But also trust that the citizens in your city or your residents have within us. And that's kind of an important topic for you, too, this service-oriented, customer service-focused, we're here for them type thing. Talk about that a little bit. How important is that? Where did you really learn that foundation? Was that very early on that this profession was solely about the citizens and the people we protect?
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, talk about that.
Yeah, I think for a long time, I think it was about Clyde. I wanted to do the coolest shit on earth.
Hell yeah.
And I thought I was the biggest, baddest mother walking. And for a long time, that's the way it was. And but when I got my first engine as an officer, I worked in a really low-income neighborhood, and I started seeing a lot of people who, if we didn't leave the house fast, that was just more stuff they were losing. There were people dying around us all the time from fires. And, I would drive past a fire that maybe we saved half the house, and I would look and I'm like, God dang, they had boarded up the side that burned and like separated the house, and they were living on the unburned side.
Yeah.
These people have nothing.
Right.
And so it started to become very clear to me that what we do, whether it's property or life or both, I mean, it's huge. They don't have the opportunities that I do. So it just made a big difference. We made a fire one day, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and we pull up and you can see the header. I mean, it's getting it. And there's a little lady coming across the yard with her walker, like she's just barely making it across the yard. So the first thing I think is, where's Pops? Pops has got to be here too. And there was no Pops, we found out right away, but this house is heavily involved. There's one bedroom that's not burning, but there's black smoke boiling out of it. Well, my deal's always been, I'm a push. If I push and you back up, well, I'm gonna keep pushing. And it was sketchy. My kid with me is brand new. He fell through the floor, and it was one of those. But anyway, we got it knocked out. And some guys kind of criticized me and said, man, I think that was a little much. Maybe you shouldn't have been in there, this and that. Well, the lady, she said, honey, she said, because I went and apologized to her that we couldn't save her house.
Wow.
And, because it just means something to me. She goes, honey, I don't care about that old house. But she goes, well, let me tell you something. Would you mind looking for something? I said, sure, I will. She said, in my shiffer robe, and in that neighborhood, a shift robe is a dresser.
Okay.
She said, under my unmentionables, which would be her underwear and stuff, is a bank envelope. I said, okay. So she said, that's all the money I got. I said, all right. So sure enough, we went in that burned out bedroom that we had stopped it there. It was black to the carpet, but got to looking around, and under her unmentionables, I found this little envelope. I didn't look in it, but it couldn't have had but a couple bills in it.
Yeah.
And we glanced around. We found her family Bible and her teeth in a jar next to the bed.
Wow.
And that was about all that was left in that room. So we took it out to her, and she was sitting in the street. And by now her daughters had gotten there, and they were probably in their 40s and 50s. And I heard them start cheering that, Mama, he found it. He found it. And I was like looking around like, who are they cheering for? And as I got closer, I realized they were cheering for me and my rookie. And it just meant so much to me. Not that they were cheering for me, but she told me, she said, honey, that's all I ever wanted out of that house. Because I gave her a Bible, which was her history.
Yeah.
I gave her a little money, and then I gave her teeth, which brought back some dignity.
Sure.
And it made such an impression on me that what we think is garbage, what we would have put in a shovel and flung out the window, meant the world to this woman. And that's what we're there to do. You're not there to judge what is important and what's not. Our judges get our ass out of the house. And when we show up, we give them 150%, everything we can do. And sometimes that's nothing. Sometimes we can't fix it. But if you can fix it, you need to be trying to fix it. I think guys take it too nonchalant and too easy, what we do. They're just waiting on the baby to be trapped somewhere. But I'm telling you, everything you do makes a difference in people's lives. And you don't know what the smallest thing that you've done that just meant nothing to you is a huge thing to someone else, because you just don't know where people are, and they deserve our best, and they deserve us to get out of there and do everything we can for them. And that's just where it comes to me. And I encourage my people to think of everything they do that way. And, that's just kind of where we're at. And it's a culture that you create in your station. I want my guys to be able to speak to me at any point. When I came in, you didn't talk to the chief. You just didn't do it.
Yeah.
But now I want to be approachable to them. I want them to trust me. We had one of our guys who spent several tours in Iraq. He had a hard time with things, and they met me early one morning in the parking lot, which would have never happened back in the day. I said, "Man, we got a problem." And I'm like, "What is it?" They said, "Well, we went out drinking yesterday, and we had a good time, and I got up in the middle of the night, and I found this guy with a pistol jammed in his mouth on the couch. He's about to kill himself right there in his,
Wow.
And thank God they felt comfortable coming to me.
Yes.
Because we stopped everything. We shut the station down, and I got that guy in my room, and I said, "Look, buddy, we're not going to be able to hide this. There's 15 other guys wanting to know why you're in my room at 5 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah,
So,
no, for sure.
But you got to understand how much we love you, and you're our family, and we're going to make this right now. And those guys out there that are wondering why you're in here, they love you too." And man, we had the luxury, thank God, the Houston Fire Department takes care of us on that end of things. We had people there within minutes, and the guy's alive today. He's changed his life because the trust that was between all of us. They knew they could come to me and talk to me, and I'd do the right thing, and I wouldn't make a big deal out of it. I'd keep it as small as I could, but
Yeah, right.
they knew I had to do something. And,
of course.
those are the things. That's what people expect from us. No one is going to have a sick infant newborn and hand it to just anybody, but
Right.
they'll hand it to you. And you got to take that type of trust very seriously, because you change people's lives out there. You don't even know you're doing it, but I'm telling you change people's lives.
I will tell you, the last 6-7 minutes of this podcast, I found myself just being a listener, not even moderating it. That was so powerful, brother. I mean, just the story about the older woman and so on, and how important it was to make that aggressive push, because you were able to save what little she had compared to what most of us take for granted. And
Yeah.
I that moment in this podcast, this episode, I need every firefighter in the world to listen to that story, because it is incredibly profound, Chief. It's powerful. And I found myself just sitting and listening to you talk, and it was I really just a moment there. It must have really shaped you, though.
It did. It meant so much to me, and I wouldn't have got myself or my guy hurt. You know what I mean? And when I talk about hurt, I'm talking about, you're going to the burn unit.
Yeah, right.
Hurt isn't a burnt ear. I'm talking, you know what I mean? We
I
do
get
that
it.
pretty regular, but but it was the fire was backing down, and as long as she backs down, I'm gonna keep pushing. And I didn't know why. I just knew. But when it was all said and done, I was like, man, guys, that's what we're here about. I brought them all together. I was like, y'all just need to look at this and understand what you did here today. And for the next 30 years of your career, this is what you need to push for. Because we can't always fix people's problems, but if you have the opportunity, then you need to try. And, I see guys that take it like, this is nothing. Oh, this is BS, this. And I just don't get it, because you just don't ever know where people are.
Yeah. Yeah. And then for you to share your story about one of your own, it just, the story, the topic of trust is how we got to these stories, and to see how important that word is to you. I mean, you live it, and you believe in your people, and you believe in the citizens you protect. It's just very powerful, Chief. Really incredible. So what's exciting for you, right? We talked about a lot of different topics here, things that are passionate to you. A lot of times we get annoyed, frustrated. We talk about the bad stuff. What's good? What when you're driving home, or you're driving around the city, you're coming back, picking up from a run, what's good? What's happening that's good and exciting that you're excited about?
that's a little difficult.
I know, and I don't mean to put you on the spot with it, right?
Yeah.
But
No, well, it's. I mean, I think for me the good is what I see in these other guys, and I enjoy watching my crews be successful.
There you go.
I enjoy watching them train hard, and then all of a sudden all of that pays off. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And they just absolutely kill it. And they know they killed it. You know what I mean? They're not arrogant about it, but they're like, oh yeah, we killed it. You know what I mean? And I enjoy that. And as an older guy, I'm more of a dad than I am a brother now. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I like to see my kids succeed. And you know, that's exciting to me. And the fire service in general, I'm excited to see all the new and the changes and the information that's out there. I mean, like I said before, these guys should not be ignorant at all, ever. You know, if you're ignorant, it's your choice. So
Yes.
Get out of your comfort zone and do things. But I really enjoy when things just go well and my guys do a good job. And then to me, that just set the standard. You know, now we can up it a little bit more. We had a fire the other day in a 4-story townhome. We have all these real tall, narrow townhomes. They just pack as many of them as they can in there.
Right.
So we've had to alter our tactics because you can't hardly get to them, and they're just complicated. And anyway, I told my truck chauffeur, I want the truck in the game every time. You know what I mean? And I'm like, hey, bring the truck in, get it in the game. He's like, yes, sir. So he backed it down this little alley and short jacked it, and I mean, he threaded the needle with this thing.
Right.
And I was so happy. Like, it shocked me. Like, I had to move my command post because he was going to run me over. You know what I mean? He's got it in there. And I was like, man, I was just so impressed and so happy with him. But I was like, you kind of screwed yourself, brother, because now this is what I expect out of you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Set the bar high. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. But that's the way it ought to be. You know,
Yes.
I gave him the opportunity to make the decisions himself. He challenged himself, he pushed himself, and he succeeded. And guess what? That goes a long way with him, because when I do need him to do something that's a little on edge, you know, he's going to be confident enough to do that. And you have to share confidence with your people, that you're confident in them, and let them know they can do things, and let them do it. Let them fail. Let them figure it out. It's okay. You know what I mean? There are times where obviously I have to get really involved, because what you do right now makes a huge difference. Well, I have no flexibility, but I would prefer to give you an order and let you figure it out a little bit on your own. And it works well for us. So,
yeah, and that is exciting, man. I mean, picking up from a job and heading back after your guys just crushed it. Like, that is the culmination of everything that you work for. You work hard, from the storytelling and the extra minutes on the apparatus floor, or sitting around the kitchen table sharing an extra 5-minute story when you could have got up and went back to your room, right? Or, you know, or the training and the hard hours you're putting in on the street. That all comes together, and, like, truthfully, like Big Daddy, right? Like Big Dad, man. Like, just being proud.
Well,
I mean,
you know, you're proud of your kids when they do things that you've been raising them and teaching them for the last 19 years, you know?
Yeah.
I have the same pride. I have a daughter that's going to Texas A&M, and I see her do things, and I'm like, well, that started a long time ago, you know, for her to be thinking that way. And it's the same thing with them. I mean, I watch them do things, and I'm like, man, you know, we're killing it, you know, and it is a very proud moment for me. And but I don't get comfortable there. We just keep going.
That's
you know?
right.
We got to keep going.
I talk a lot about the foundational bricks, right, and building that foundation. It's brick by brick, and it's experience and you know, just all of that put together, and you keep stacking these bricks together to make a firm foundation. And as that foundation gets stronger and stronger with experience and situations that you come out on top, or the negative ones that you learn from, it all makes that foundation super strong. And so for 33 years, Chief, now your foundation's pretty solid, and now you're letting your people build on top of it. It's fantastic. It really is.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
They got to be able to, you know, I'm not going to be there forever. So somebody's got to take my spot, and I want it to be one of these guys, you know, that have learned and have the same thought process as I do.
Yeah.
You know, let people work. So
for sure. So what's next for Clyde Gordon? What's going on, Chief? What's next for you? Just going to do some more training, teaching, climbing the ranks? What are we doing?
No, Clyde's done as far as rank climbing.
That district chief job's a good gig, right? I mean, it's
oh man, I love it. I'll be honest with you, I loved being an engine officer.
yeah,
Firefighter was cool for a long time. Did that for 11 years.
sure.
Then I just, I enjoyed the engine and probably would have stayed there. I got hurt a few times, and I get to see the writing on the wall. Couldn't do that forever.
Yeah,
because my goal to be on a slow engine, that I have no interest in that. So I always wanted to be busy. But anyway, I made battalion chief and or district chief, and it's for where I am in my career now. I absolutely love it because I am involved. I do spend a lot of time with them. I try to make things better. I bring new stuff all the time. And they get, I'm sure, frustrated because I'll be, man, this is the coolest thing ever. Look at this. And y'all try it out.
yeah.
And like a week later, they're like, that sucks. That's the worst thing we've ever done in our
oh
lives.
God,
Okay.
oh God, the chief went to another conference this weekend.
That's
Can't
right.
wait to see what he's bringing back.
That's exactly right.
I think that happens everywhere when guys go to conferences and come back from it, right?
Yeah.
The rest of the guys sitting around the table are like, oh boy, here we go. What are we going to learn
here
this
we go.
week?
We know we're going to be doing something new and stupid. Yeah. But I give them the opportunity, but the next step for me would be deputy. I don't care nothing about that. But, I don't know. We talk about retiring in a couple of years, but I don't know if that's what I want to do either.
Got it.
I get frustrated with current situations, but when it comes to the fire station and going to fires, I still love it. I feel like I'm 25 years old, and I'd go to a fire every day if they let me. I'd go to every fire in the city if they'd let me.
Yeah.
So we'll see, but I would like to do more training and more speaking, and I absolutely love doing that. We're getting more into some hands-on things, but I just love to travel and speak to guys and sharing what I know and learning from them. And
yeah. Well,
I just love hanging out with firemen, man.
Yeah,
I just love them.
I've seen it all firsthand. We've been to a couple joint conferences together now, and and I just saw you in Long Island, New York, not too long ago, and
yes,
it was absolutely hilarious. We had the Joey D Foundation training weekend, and there you are hanging out, dirty gear, and I'm like, what are you teaching? You're like, I don't know. I'm just trying to get in anywhere they can put me. I just want to go in. I just want to check this burn building out. I just want to. It was so fun to watch the excitement on your face. I mean, and it's just, I think that just speaks to who you are and what the last 50 minutes of this podcast is just your love and passion for this job and the way that you can disseminate that into your people and down through the ranks. I think battalion chief or district chief is a great spot for you because you're affecting change within the Houston Fire Department. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. That's where God's brought me, and that's what I feel like I'm there to do. And
good.
I don't always make friends there. I probably got more friends out in the country than I do where I actually work, but that's okay.
That's usually the case for most guys.
I'm not worried about their feelings. I don't get it, but whatever. But yeah, I have a responsibility to people, and that's what I try to do, and that's what I try to uphold, and I do love it. And
good.
Yeah, I ended up burning for a day and a half out there because I finally found my little hole, and Aaron Heller let me sneak in, and
nice.
Hey man, I was stoking and having the greatest time of my life.
Well, that's fantastic, and I really hope that is something that you're going to pursue for a long time to come. Knowing you and getting to know you, and even today, just learning a little bit more about you, sitting through your class, meeting you, getting to know you, becoming friends with you, I think you have a lot to bring to the table, and I'm excited to see what the future holds for you. So I hope you make it through to different conferences, and you get to share your word and do some more teaching, because I think that through true experience and street smart experience and knowledge that you have, you bring a lot to the table. So looking forward to where the future goes for you, Chief, for sure.
Well, me too, man. You tell them to call me and I'm there. I'll pack my little bag and I'll be on my way.
Well, we're going to do that right now. So we're going to wrap up. Where can people get a hold of you? Where can they continue the conversation, or where can they find out, how to get you to come in and do a class or teach? Where can they reach out to you?
Yeah, well, so the easiest thing that I know to do is Facebook.
Okay.
I'm on there. That's about the only thing I know how to do.
Got it.
And it's just Clyde Gordon. I've been doing a little TikTok. Apparently that's the new cool thing, but I can't promise you those are all that great.
I love that. That's great. That's awesome.
But and then email at FDTAC Gordon, Gordon gmail.com. That's my email. But if you know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who knows me, just call me on my phone too. I don't care. I'm easygoing, man, and I really would. I'd love to come out and share things. Mo and I do things together,
Sure.
And but I'll go anywhere and do anything. But I just love the fire service and love meeting new firemen and hoping to make it better. Hopefully, I have something to share. So
yeah, you certainly do, and don't sell yourself short over that, because you have a lot to bring to the table, and a lot of people need to hear your message and your stories and experiences. And I'll tell you, the one or two stories you told today were very, very powerful. And I think that can affect change right away. And I really hope that people dial in on this episode and listen to some of your stories, because they do matter and they certainly make a difference. So I appreciate you sharing. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing some of those stories today, Chief. I really do.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing about me. I don't read a book and then go make a class out of it. I speak from the heart and I speak from experiences. If I'm talking about a fire and I didn't make it, I'm going to tell you that. But 99% of the time I use all my own footage, and I'm talking about fires that I went to and experiences that I had, because again, firemen can smell BS a long way away. So if I don't know, I don't know. And I'll tell you that, so I just speak from the heart and do the best I can. So thank you very much, Jeremy. I really appreciate it.
It was a lot of fun. Thank you for spending an hour with me this morning, Chief, and appreciate you joining me. It was a real honor for me as well. So stay right there, and I'm just going to sign off, and then we'll chat offline for a minute, okay?
Okay, buddy. Yes, sir.
Great. Thanks again. Everyone, thanks for tuning in for another incredible episode of the National Fire Radio Podcast. District Chief Clyde Gordon, District Chief 8 out of the Houston, Texas Fire Department. You want to continue the conversation with him, this powerful conversation we just had? Look him up on Facebook, social media, and his email will be attached in the narrative below. Take this conversation. Listen to this episode today. Take some of these topics, take it back to the kitchen table, and talk about it, because when we talk about the job, we're making the job better. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you at the next one. Jeremy, National Fire Radio. Hey guys, Jeremy, National Fire Radio. Thanks for tuning in for another episode of the podcast. Today's episode is a little bit different. The script gets flipped on me, and instead of me hosting the podcast, I am a guest on the Primary Complete podcast show with Steve and Matt. These guys are doing a great job. A bang-up episode. A lot of great nuggets in there and things that I've talked about that I truly have not really talked about before on any other platform or podcast. So buckle up, enjoy the conversation, and as Matt and Steve say from the show, make conversation great again.